I will find the location. But there's one thing that I like about your question, which is the rover itself on a side also has a camera that will be taking pictures as it's coming down. So we got two imagers giving us information.
All right, Avina's HJ98. Can I be a member of this mission? How can I work for NASA?
Oh my goodness, of course you can be a member of this mission. It takes everybody to get to do this, right? Like the questions are things that we have never asked ourselves before, things that we have never tried before. So we kind of need everybody to come up with their own way of seeing things from their different angles. So I will say go to nasa.gov, check out JPL for any openings that there is. And if you are not interested in those jobs, you can certainly follow the show and be part of all of this, even with the online activities that Stephanie and her team have.
All right, that is a perfect segue. If you want to know how to participate in the mission, if you want to join our Mission to Mars Student Challenge, if you want to join the conversation with the rover on Twitter and Facebook, all of that you can find at go.nasa.gov/Mars 2020 Toolkit. And oh my goodness, here it is, Tuesday afternoon, Thursday. We're going to be live streaming from this room. We'll be live streaming in 2D. In 360 degrees, and for the first time ever, en español?
En español, yes, for the first time ever, vamos a tener un show en español del aterrizaje de Perseverance. Empieza a las 11:30 Pacífico, 2:30 Este. Así que si nos quieres ver en YouTube es NASA-ES. Nos vemos ahí.
So this is NASA. We got space for everyone. We hope that you will join us. We'll see you online. #Countdown to Mars. Hey everybody, welcome to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory here in Southern California. My name is Stephanie Smith. I'm part of the digital news and media team, the social media team here at JPL. And fewer than 48 hours from now, I can't believe it, our countdown to Mars is nearly done. Our Perseverance Mars rover is nearly to the red planet with landing this Thursday. We wanted to take a time out and bring you all behind the scenes on a very windy day here at JPL and give you a chance to meet some of the fantastic human beings behind this mission, take your questions live and get them answered. So if you've got questions about science, about technology, particularly the MOXIE instrument, MOXIE technology demonstration, or engineering of landing on Mars, we're going to take you inside mission control. So without any further ado, just keep those questions coming. You can use the hashtag countdown to Mars. You can also put them right here in the comments. Here to tell us more about the science of this mission and its search for ancient life on Mars is Dr. Bethany Ehlmann. Hey, Bethany.
Hi, Stephanie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I've got butterflies. I've got energy. But I'm so excited to be sharing this time with you guys. We've been socially distant for 11 months
That's
now.
right.
We're maintaining distance because it should come as no surprise that safety is really, really important to NASA, both for our flight hardware, but more importantly for our people. And that's why you're going to see us keep our distance. We're going to keep these masks on at all times, but it doesn't mean we're not going to have any fun. So keep those questions coming to give you some time to think about them and know what kinds of things you can ask. I'll be talking to each of our experts a little bit up top. So Bethany, you're on the science team. What is your official title, and then what does it mean in plain English?
Okay, well, my day job is I'm a professor of planetary science at Caltech, but for the Mars 2020 mission, I am privileged to be a co-investigator on the science team, and I'm a part of two instruments, Mastcam-Z and Sherlock. So what does that mean? That means that day to day, I get to participate in looking at the data as it comes down, figuring out what is going on Mars, and then working with the engineering team to plan the next steps of the rover over the coming days, weeks, months that we'll be exploring on Mars.
All right, so we've got this fabulous model.
We do.
We can't let this go to waste.
Nope.
Can you give us just a little guided tour of the science payload on this rover?
Yeah, sure. So, well, what we've got up here are what we call the remote sensing instruments. That means we look at things from afar and take pictures or analyze them. So the two instruments, so the instrument that I work on that's on this mast are the Mastcam-Z cameras. So these are twin stereo color infrared cameras that take the best science images of the surface for our exploration. And you know, what's really special about these is not only do they have like crazy powerful zoom lenses to get a microscopic view from far away, but we're also getting that view in the infrared. And so that means we can tell the color, from the infrared colors, we can tell what the rocks and the soils on the surface are made of. So that's super exciting. These cameras here you might see, you might ask, what are those? Well, those are our navigational cameras that take color pictures to help the rover drive. The giant Cyclops eye that you see here is SuperCam. It has a microscopic imager. It has a couple of spectrometers.
You know, Mars
One
is
of the
the closest
spectrometers even
place
fires
that we can reach
laser
with
beams
robotic
at rocks and
exploration
soils.
that we
Yes,
think
it
have
has
a really
laser
good
in its
chance
head,
of having ancient
and
life.
it is
Perseverance rover will
geared
land
toward understanding the
at a location called
chemistry and the
Jezero
mineralogy of the surface.
Jezero Crater is
Moving
a
on, you know,
very
that's not all,
interesting
because
place.
once we use
It's a
our remote
crater
sensing
that
suite
once
to
held
like
a lake.
zero in
There are a lot of
on
craters
where we're going,
on the surface of
then
Mars
once we
that
get to the
could have once
destination,
hosted
drive to the
ancient
destination,
lakes.
then we can
But not
pull out
every
this
crater
beefy
that we
arm
think had a
here
lake actually
and get up
preserves
and
evidence
close and
that
personal to the rocks to investigate them. So what you're seeing right here is the core assembly. Now Mars 2020 is really special because it will host a drill bit here. It's not really shown on the model, but actually it's shown retracted inside the model.
I've always loved sci-fi and the idea of being right on the edge of discovery and the frontiers of space. And doing exploration in Eve allows me to do all of that stuff. You get to use cloaking devices, probes to scan down unknown parts of space. You get to go to places in space which are dangerous and unknown and discover valuable ancient relics from long dead civilizations. You could even go into wormholes which take you into unknown parts of space. You could see a pulsar or a magnetar putting out waves, a furious black hole with a massive glowing red event horizon around it. And it really reminds you of where you are in space and how far away you are from the recognizable surroundings of your home system. It's an incredible feeling, and you just feel like you're living on the edge of space, right on the frontier. And there's always the threat of being discovered by another player who might be out hunting explorers. And even if you do get discovered, even if you are spotted, the feeling of achievement and the feeling of narrowly missing a sticky end is unbelievable. That threat is what makes it a challenge. A lot of what I've done in Eve is just following content that presents itself because of what I've chosen to do. It's all part of exploration. It's not knowing what kind of profession it's going to lead me to or what kind of activity it's going to inspire me to follow. It's perfect to give you a taste of what Eve's got to offer.
Costruisci la ferrovia dell'Orient Express nello storico scenario del Passo del Sempione, locomotiva, carrozze di lusso.
I just have time to name a few, but one of the differences from the previous iteration of the rover, the Curiosity rover that's now at Gale Crater, is the wheels. So these guys, we learned that pointy rocks on Mars destroy wheels. And so wising up to this advice, we have beefed up the wheels on this rover to give them an extended lifetime, even if we encounter, really sharp, pointy rocks. There's no AAA on Mars. If you bust your tire, there's no tow truck, right? So we got to make sure that our wheels endure the entire mission. Another key difference you're going to hear about shortly, and that's we have an in situ resource utilization experiment called MOXIE that you'll hear about that takes carbon dioxide and turns it into oxygen, but more on that in the next segment.
All right, well, I know that you are a very, very busy person who's got big plans ahead. If we have a good day on Thursday, you'll just be clearing your schedule for what? The next
Science on Mars.
The next 2 Earth years,
That's
one
right.
Martian year at least. Bethany, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
For your time today. And with that, we'll let you go and keep those questions coming, folks. We want to hear from you. Up next, technology on this rover to help future life on Mars in the form of astronauts. So, one of the key pieces of engineering on this rover is called MOXIE. And here to tell us more about it, Dr. Assad Abu Baker. Hey, Assad.
Hi there. Hey, Stephanie.
All right, so I will start with the same question that I
Inizia oggi a investire in azioni di Poste Italiane. Iscriviti subito con un piccolo investimento di 250 euro e puoi iniziare a guadagnare un secondo reddito direttamente sul tuo conto. Poste Italiane, le azioni più amate d'Italia. Investi ora.
This is how fast YouTube is with Brave. Notice how there's no pre-roll ads? And here's how you can see how much time you save with Brave. Look, Chrome was great in 2008, but it's 2020. Join the 19 million people already using Brave. Experience a faster internet through Brave.
when we're doing sort of normal surface operations, we often have a lot of data that we're trying to transmit. So we often use the orbiters that are around Mars to transmit information back. So the orbiters that we've got in around the planet can cross over where the rovers are on the surface, and they can transmit information to one another. And then the orbiter can send that information back to through the Deep Space Network to antennas here on Earth, and then that gets transmitted to JPL. So it does take a little bit of time, and sometimes when we call into planning on any given day, sometimes you can watch the data trickle in as you're sitting there. It takes a bit of time, but we've got sort of a system in place that allows us to get that data back as soon as possible.
Awesome. Well, we've got folks tuning in from all around the world. We've got Hawaii, homeschoolers in Gulf Shores, Alabama, South Carolina, Colorado, Illinois, Amsterdam, Tasmania in Australia, England, Slovakia, Chile, New York, West Mariah or John, looks like we've got John back now. We've got a question here from Elise in Scotland. How likely is a Perseverance rover to help with human missions to Mars? Mariah, you want to take that one?
Yep, yeah, I got it. Yeah, so one of the primary mission goals actually is to help prepare for human exploration, and this is a part of the mission that I'm particularly excited about. All prior robotic missions have been sort of paving the way for humans. We send robots to the surface to scope out what's there, test the environment, see what
does Perseverance make of Mars before starting entry, descent, and landing?
Oh, how much of an orbit? That's a good question. So we're coming in straight into Mars. We do TCMs to correct exactly where we're going to do the entry point. But once we hit the entry point, we're just going straight in through the atmosphere to land. So there's not much time that we're wasting. As soon as we feel the atmosphere, we're just going in.
And on the software side of things, Noor the Door asks, how complicated is the automated landing sequence and who wrote the code?
Ooh, that's a really interesting question. Okay, so very complicated. I think the way that I describe it is we're touching the top of the atmosphere of Mars at 20,000 kilometers per hour, which is insanely fast. And then the complicated aspect of it is that it has multi-parts that come off at the specific instances while taking pictures and having retro rockets and landing. So you can imagine that just my description is super complicated. So now I will say we tested constantly, we tested multiple times, and the code itself is actually a team. So it's a team of people that write different pieces of that area, the devices that are going to be used, how those devices are going to get integrated, and then the software itself, it gets built by lots of different people that we get to test with lots of different more people.
Okay, you touched on this a little bit with the needing to see the surface to choose that landing site. So Nancy Wilkins wants to know, is it the rover Perseverance or the descent module taking those images to find the safest landing site?
The safest landing site. That's a really good question. So when the back shield of the rover comes, so it has a heat shield and it has a back shield. When the heat shield comes out, there is a radar that we point down to find actually the location of where we're going. So it is not per se the actual rover itself, it is actually the descent stage that has the radar, the LiDAR that will find the location. But there's one thing that I like about your question, which is the rover itself on a side also has a camera that will be taking pictures as it's coming down. So we got two imagers giving us information.
All right, Avina's HJ98. Can I be a member of this mission? How can I work for NASA?
Oh my goodness, of course you can be a member of this mission. It takes everybody to get to do this, right? Like the questions are things that we have never asked ourselves before, things that we have never tried before. So we kind of need everybody to come up with their own way of seeing things from their different angles. So I will say go to nasa.gov, check out JPL for any openings that there is. And if you are not interested in those jobs, you can certainly follow the show and be part of all of this, even with the online activities that Stephanie and her team have.
All right, that is a perfect segue. If you want to know how to participate in the mission, if you want to join our Mission to Mars Student Challenge, if you want to join the conversation with the rover on Twitter and Facebook, all of that you can find at go.nasa.gov/Mars 2020 Toolkit. And oh my goodness, here it is, Tuesday afternoon, Thursday. We're gonna be live streaming from this room. We'll be live streaming in 2D, in 360 degrees, and for the first time ever, en español.
En español, yes, for the first time ever, vamos a tener un show en español del aterrizaje de Perseverance. Empieza a las 11:30 Pacífico, 2:30 Este. Así que si nos quieres ver en YouTube es NASA _ES. Nos vemos ahí.
So this is NASA. We got space for everyone. We hope that you will join us. We'll see you online. Hashtag Countdown to Mars.
Not only that, this robotic system is equipped to collect samples about the size of a piece of chalk that then eventually will be stored inside of the vehicle and dropped off in a later location so that an eventual mission can go and return these samples to Earth, something we've never done in the past. Here in the front, we have the remote sensing mast. Something of note is that this mechanism is going to be stowed upon the touchdown on the surface of Mars. And one of the first critical activities we do is deploy this mechanism. This mechanism includes several cameras that are going to give us some of the most breathtaking images we've ever taken on Mars. Along with that, we have some lasers as well as a spectrometer. They're going to allow us to do some remote science. Here you see some of these extrusions that are part of the larger weather suite of instruments that will allow us to characterize the local climate around Perseverance. So that's a quick tour of the rover, but I got to get back to work. So back to you.
Perseverance is collecting samples of Martian rock for future return to Earth. We've heard that scientists have been wanting to bring Martian samples back for many generations. And here
Con il lettore di carta SAMAP, pagamenti facili e veloci. Nessun vincolo contrattuale, nessun costo.
Who joins us now to talk about the role Perseverance will play in NASA's future goals. Welcome, Lori.
Hi.
Now, as you just heard, we've heard that scientists have been wanting to bring back these Martian samples for a very long time. Why do we need to bring them back?
That's really a great question. You know, we actually have examples of Mars already here on Earth that came here as meteorites, but we don't know exactly where they came from on Mars, and then they also have had to make the trip from Mars to Earth, and so they got altered during that time, and then during their entry and descent into the Earth's atmosphere, that also changes what those rocks are like. So being able to go to Mars and actually collect a sample where we know exactly where it came from, and we know we can preserve it and keep it pristine and carry it all the way back here, this will be incredibly important to help us answer questions about the geologic history of Mars, understanding how it formed and evolved, and also really important questions about whether or not life actually existed on Mars 3.5 billion years ago, and whether that life, if it existed, has been preserved in the surface of Mars.
Now, Lori, these sample tubes that Perseverance is going to be collecting, they're the cleanest things ever created on Earth. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness. We worked so hard. The team here at JPL is absolutely incredible to assure that those sample tubes are incredibly clean. One of the main goals of this mission is to be able to detect if there's actual life that's preserved, ancient life preserved in those rocks, in those samples. And we definitely don't want to be carrying, our own DNA off to Mars and then bring it back here to confuse our scientists when they're trying to study those samples. So it is an incredibly clean set of equipment that's been sent there. As you said, the cleanest thing we've ever sent into space.
Now, this is a very complicated campaign. Can you break down for us how it's going to work, and if there's any international partners working with us?
You are correct. The Mars sample return campaign is incredibly complex. In fact, it's probably the most challenging thing we've ever tried to do. But we're definitely not going to try and do it alone. We have great partners with the European Space Agency. And the way this campaign is going to work, well, Perseverance is the first step. Chapter 1 is going to Mars and collecting the samples. Chapter 2 is going to be a sample return lander that we hope to launch in around 2026 to 2028. And that lander, it'll be an American lander carrying a fetch rover that's provided by European Space Agency. And that little fetch rover will drive out and pick up the samples that Perseverance left on the surface of Mars. And the fetch rover will bring them back and load them into a rocket that we call the Mars Ascent Vehicle, which will be the first ever launch from another planet. And it will launch those samples into orbit around Mars. In the meantime, European Space Agency will have an orbiter that's in orbit around Mars that can rendezvous and capture those samples and then bring them back to Earth for us to study back here in our amazing laboratories.
A lot of firsts, it sounds like, Lori. And another first, how is Perseverance and the Mars sample return mission going to help the future exploration, human exploration of Mars?
I'm so glad you asked that. I think we're going to get a lot of great information from Mars sample return with, again, being able to land the heaviest payload we've ever landed on Mars will be that sample return lander. That's critical to us learning how to land humans on Mars. And then we are definitely going to want to be able to launch the humans back off of Mars. So that Mars ascent vehicle is going to be critical, that first step of the first launch from another planet.
So exciting, Lori. And speaking about the Mars generation, we're now going to take a student question for you from Livia.
Hi, my name is Livia, and my question is, what made you want to study Mars, and why are you working so hard and willing to wait so long for a sample? Thank you.
Oh, Olivia, that is such a great question. And I enjoy Mars just because it can tell us so much about how our solar system formed and evolved. All of the planets can tell us different parts of that story, and Mars is a really key piece of that. And one of the main reasons we're willing to wait so long to get the sample back is that we've got great new scientists that are all about your age, and in about 10 or 15 or 20 years, you'll be the generation that's going to actually get to work with these samples. When they come back, you'll be the scientists and engineers that will be the next generation to change how we think about Mars and how we think about life in the solar system.
That was a great question, Lori. Reach for the stars, future little scientists and engineers. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Lori.
It's my pleasure. Thanks.
Back to you, Raquel, for another mission update.
Thanks, Marina. The cruise team for Perseverance controls the rover on its way to Mars. And moments ago, they handed it over to the landing team, and it looks like team leaders in mission control are about to talk to both teams. So let's listen in.
The CBM change, as I mentioned previously, is to the EDL reserve to a non-coherent route.
Activity.
Copy flight.
EDL phase, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to see pep talk, I guess, to the team. All right. You know, I'm terrible at pep talks. I think my reputation precedes me there. And look, I know this hasn't been easy, right? I'm not even sure we've even been all in the same room at the same time. I mean, I'm staring at folks across the internet as well. Even now, right? Only. Yeah. Voice check. Okay. I do want to just extend my heartfelt appreciation from the EDL team to the launch cruise team. You've done everything we've asked for, right? I mean, you've battled anomalies, you've dealt with Cepheids, you've done everything. You delivered a healthy spacecraft to the place that we want to go. And she's right on target, right? We did the last maneuver literally 2 months ago, right? This is pretty incredible, in my opinion. And she's armed with the right information to help us land. Doing the parameter update last night, we're ready to roll. You've done everything right. And you've put up with us too, right? You've put up with our eccentricities and the things we like to do in EDL land. So I very much appreciate that. So you all should sleep in on Friday, since you guys have earned it. Thanks for literally and figuratively putting us in the right position to succeed. And let's land on Mars together.
Copy EDL phase. And as flight director, I also would like to thank the whole team, cruise ops, EDL ops, EDL team, and the surface ops as well. It's been an amazing journey. I think we all know that. And it's been my honor and pleasure to work with you all side by side. And your tireless efforts and endurance in the face of our challenges has been truly, truly inspiring. So kudos to you. Mission, would you like to say something?
Yeah, just echoing the same words that Al and Magdi have mentioned. You guys have overcome great obstacles in the last 6.5 months, and it started with an earthquake in this room on launch day at L-20 minutes. So I can't be more proud than all of the achievements that you guys have pulled off in the last 6.5 months. Whatever happens in the next hour and a half, you can be proud of the achievements that you've accomplished so far. I look forward to seeing you on the other side, and I only wish that the rest of our team could be sharing this moment with us. This is a very unusual event. This room is only half as full as it would be if we weren't in this pandemic. So missing everybody on the team who's not with us here today. And go EDL.
Welcome to the EDL family.
And with that, Godspeed Perseverance. All right, activity. Go ahead and continue the report.
Sure thing, Flight. We've since completed the EDL Start Anchor. As I was mentioning, we changed our CBM row to EDL Reserve two-way non-coherent. That row reinforces our CBM windows disabled, keeps our packetization on, it turns off our ranging and switches to the auxiliary oscillator. We have also started our real-time data product and reinforced Medley on. At this time,
Now, we just heard Perseverance team leaders thank the cruise team for their work in guiding the rover to Mars. Now, did you know the rover name and Mars helicopter name came from students? Well, a couple weeks ago, Marina was able to catch up with them.
Thanks, Raquel. Earlier this year, NASA and our partners held a nationwide essay contest to name our Mars rover. Alex Mather, a 7th grader from Springfield, Virginia, submitted the winning essay that was selected by NASA from a field of more than 28,012 students in every state in the U.S. Vanessa Rupani's essay for Ingenuity was so compelling, NASA thought it would be a perfect name for the history-making helicopter. Submitted the winning essay that was selected by NASA from a field of more than 28,000 entries. Welcome, you guys. From K through 12
Hello,
students in every state in the U.S. Vanessa Rupani's essay for Ingenuity
you got to go to Florida and watch
NASA
the
thought
launch
it would be
live
a
back
perfect
in
name
July.
for the history-making
Alex, what were you
helicopter.
feeling as
a
you saw that
technology
rocket launch into
demonstration
the
carried
sky?
aboard the
I
Perseverance
read
rover.
a log of books
Alex and
written
Vanessa
by
join us
astronauts,
now.
and
Welcome,
every
you guys.
single one of them always talks about the raw power behind a space launch. And I definitely feel like watching the launch invoked that sense of inspiration mixed with anticipation, along with that rumble in my chest.
That's very inspirational, and I'm sure that you have had many conversations with your classmates since this all began. Now, what kind of questions have they asked you?
I got some people asking me about what this helicopter is, what this rover is, what are they actually going to do. So I love that this whole experience sparked a greater interest in the mission in my community.
Why do you think it's so important for kids to be inspired by space exploration?
Because space is the future, and kids are the future. Learning about space and watching the story of humanity spread to the stars happen is watching the future happen and seeing history unfold.
We both have two boys who are
Anyone want to do anything else?
So true, and the best of luck to both of you. Thank you so much for joining us here today, Alex and Vanessa.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. I had a great time.
Now, your essays, as well as the top 155 finalist essays, are riding on the Perseverance rover, along with nearly 11 million of the names from all over the world that were submitted before launch. And if you miss the chance to get your name on Perseverance, then you will get another chance to reserve a spot on the next mission to Mars. So make sure that you sign up now at mars.nasa.gov for your boarding pass.
As virtual celebrations are happening all over the globe, let's take a look at some of your submissions on our social channels, showing us how you're celebrating the Perseverance landing right now. And remember to hashtag Countdown to Mars and send those in. We would love to show them off. Look at these kids. They are getting so excited. Everyone's watching it. A lot of classrooms are watching it. Oh, and great, someone did a Lego version of Perseverance. Home, and he loves to draw the rover. And look at that. That is awesome. That's better than anything I could bake, that's for sure. Perseverance in a cake. That looks so great. Delicious. I want to get into that. Another great send-in from David Bowie Reel. Thank you so much for your submissions. Remember, hashtag Countdown to Mars. We love to see how you're celebrating. Now, you might know our next guest from shows like Emily's Wonder Lab. Joining me now is Emily Calandrelli. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Now, you are very passionate about getting kids interested in science and space exploration. Why do you think kids are so excited about space?
Well, I know the reason I'm excited about space, and I think it's the same reason that many others are excited about space, and it's that the people in the space industry work to answer two of the biggest questions that humans have ever asked. Are we alone in the universe, and where did we all come from? And by sending a rover to Mars, we are gaining evidence for the answers to these questions, more evidence than we ever had before, and I think that's so exciting.
It is, and I know you get loads of interesting questions from kids. Have you gotten any about Mars specifically?
Oh my gosh, yes. Everybody loves Mars. It's in movies and books and TV shows, and everybody loves Mars. So one of the things that I get asked a lot is that, it's called the red planet. Why is it red? Well, it's red because it's literally rusty. The top layer of soil on Mars has iron oxide in it, or rust, and rust has that brownish red color. So it's red because it's rusty. And also because it's red, they ask, is it red hot? Is it really hot on Mars? And well, no, actually, it's colder than the Earth. It's farther away from the sun. So as you would imagine, it's a little bit colder than the Earth. It also has a really thin atmosphere. So the heat that it does have, it has a hard time keeping in. And so it's a little bit colder. But then I also get asked, what would I weigh on Mars? That's a really fun question. So on Mars, it's a little bit smaller than the Earth. So the gravity there is weaker. It's about 3/8 the gravity that we have here on Earth. So if you weighed 100 pounds here on Earth, you'd weigh 38 pounds on Mars, or 100 kilograms here on Earth, 38 kilograms on Mars.
Those are all super fun. I think even some adults want to know the answers to those questions, Emily. Now, why do you think it's so important to educate kids about science and give them that great foundation?
Well, science is the language of nature, and learning about science and learning how to think like a scientist means you are learning how to systematically seek out truth in the world. You are learning the scientific method, you're learning how to be a critical thinker, and honestly, those skills are great for whatever you end up wanting to do in life.
True. If you want to be a scientist or an opera singer, that holds true. And what are you most excited about today?
I mean, humans are launching a robot to Mars. That doesn't happen every day. I think in all of the hecticness that is going on today and all of the nerves, I just hope everyone can take a moment to sit back and remember that we live in a time when humans have the ability to send a robot to another planet. And that's so cool to me.
It is very cool, Emily. Take a deep breath. Thanks for joining us here.
Thanks for having me.
Sending it back to you now, Raquel.
Thanks, Marina. We are offering lots of ways to ride along with us to Mars. Now put yourself right into the action now with our Perseverance photo booth. You can pose next to the rover, place yourself in our mission control, and even see what you might look like taking a selfie on the red planet. There, you'll also have a chance to sign up to send your name to Mars on NASA's next flight to the red planet. It's all available at go.nasa.gov/Mars 2020 Toolkit. And joining us now is JPL Chief Engineer and Landing Veteran Rob Manning. He will be breaking down key moments coming up, and very few people know more about landing on Mars than Rob, going back to the Pathfinder mission in 1997. Thanks for joining us today, Rob.
Thank you very much, Raquel, for having me here. And what a wonderful experience. What a wonderful day for a beautiful day in California. We're just also excited here, anxious, worried, but very hopeful.
Rob, I have a question for you. There is a landing tradition at JPL that involves eating peanuts for good luck. Can you tell us how did that start?
Yes, it started in the mid-1960s. What happened was we had a series of missions that had failures. The Ranger program in the early 1960s, one after another, failed. And what happened was one day, a fellow by the name of Dick Wallace on Ranger number 7, on the 7th attempt, decided to bring peanuts to the ops area just before the launch. And guess what? That mission worked. Now, we're not supposed to be too superstitious. We're engineers and scientists after all. But we love tradition. And ever since then, before launch and before critical events like entry, descent, landing, we have brought out peanuts and shared them with the team. And it's been really a wonderful little experience. And so this is something we will do. We're doing right now. And it's something that we just can't help ourselves. It's just part of the experience.
Well, speaking of the experience, how did the Perseverance team keep the tradition alive this year?
Well, this year we're passed out little packets of peanuts to the team, and they can sneak one peanut in their mouth as part of to keep the tradition alive. But you know, this is part of the COVID experience, but we can't leave this one undone. So this is what we're doing, and this is going to help us land safely.
All right, thanks, Rob. I have some questions for you a little later on, but we're heading back to Swati Mohan, who is part of the landing team. She'll be calling out key milestone and events as they happen from Mission Control. So let's listen in right now.
So right now we're still about 20 minutes from entry, and the EDL phase is giving a last-minute confirmation of what will be happening in the upcoming changes to the vehicle, just to remind the team.
This will allow us to steer our trajectory as we make our way through the atmosphere. This is one of the things that allowed MSL, the Curiosity rover, to land where it did. And we're depending on the same type of entry guidance this time around to help get us very close to our target. As we make our way through entry, finish our guided entry profile, we'll do a maneuver called heading alignment, where we point toward the target and get ready to deploy the parachute. But before we deploy the parachute, we need to get rid of a set of balanced masses that have been giving us a center of gravity, or CG offset, throughout the guided entry phase. So these are called the entry balance masses. We also call this maneuver SUFR, S-U-F-R, or straighten up and fly right. So we'll go ahead and eject those masses when we get a trigger from the GNC system telling us that we're at the appropriate range to the target to do so. As soon as we deploy those, we will no longer have a CG offset, and we'll be ready to deploy the parachute 17 seconds later.
Right where the Perseverance team is sitting now, what's in store for them as we approach landing?
I'm going to hold here for EDL prep as we're about to start that anchor.
Copy, phase 2. And activity, please call that out when it's ready.
Copy, flight.
Can I make the announcement now? Maggie needs to make the announcement that
All right. Now, Rob, you've been right where the Perseverance team is sitting now. What's in store for them as we approach landing?
Well, this is the nail-biting time. Fortunately, we still have ones and zeros coming, but very soon, as we approach cruise stage separation, the transmitter on this rover we've been using all the way to get to Mars is going to be turned off. So we will lose our ability to see ones and zeros. But the good thing is once the cruise stage is gone, there's another radio that will continue transmitting a tone, so that like a flashlight that will allow us to at least see that the vehicle is still on, and that color of that flashlight tells us a little bit what state the rover's in. But soon after that, it won't be very long before we'll be able to hear more ones and zeros coming from the spacecraft. So this is a really exciting time, and it's just important to remind people there's a lot that can go wrong in a day like today. There are thousands of things that have to go right.
Yeah, we had success in the past landing on Mars. You'd think it gets easier, but it really doesn't. Why is it still so difficult?
Well, because it's involved thousands and thousands of things, hundreds of thousands of lines of code. There's 79 pyrotechnic devices. Each have to work perfectly. One critical wire short or one key thing mechanism that doesn't work or breaks, and it's mission over. And so it's and it's very easy. We're human beings. We're not perfect. Mistakes can be made. We count on each other to find our own mistakes, and we work very hard to learn from the mistakes of the past. We've had many failures. Remind people, roughly half, around half of the missions to Mars over history have failed. And so that could happen today too. Even though we've had a nice, wonderful string of successes in the United States, it's still still a bit of a gamble that we have hoped that we have erred in the side of luck, and we've stacked the deck and loaded the dice to make this thing succeed. But if we do fail, and something bad happens today, I can tell you, we're going to learn it. We'll have the data that tell us what happened. We'll know why. We'll figure it out. And if we are allowed, we will pick ourselves up and get us back on the horse. And if Congress and NASA allow, we will try again. As we always do, we will learn from our mistakes.
And what are the possible scenarios we could be looking at today?
Well, there's things like one of the key stressful elements for all of us is parachute inflation. But just even separating from the cruise stage is a pretty major event. Lots of devices have to work properly. Certainly, the heat shield separation, getting the descent engine started. There's no less than 16 rocket motors that have to work. 8 to control during entry, another 8 to control it during landing. I said it's a lot of stuff, and it all has to work. And guess what? We haven't done this before with this vehicle ever. This is its first attempt to actually land. We can't try this on Earth. We can't do. We don't have test pilots to try it out on this planet before the big show. So this vehicle is doing it for the first time. We've done the best testing we could do in bits and pieces, but it's as best as we could do. But I think our team is up to it. This team is the best. It's a diverse, intelligent, amazing group of people. People from all over the world who worked on this, not just here in California, but all over NASA, contributors from aerospace, universities, countries around the world. It is just an incredible, remarkable engineering achievement, and I am just so proud of this team.
Thanks, Rob. Now, let's listen back into Mission Control.
Flight, we're about 14 minutes from entry interface. The vehicle is currently preparing the heat rejection system that has kept the thermal system cool inside the air shell for about the last 6 months. This will allow the spacecraft to more easily cut the line in upcoming cruise stage separation, which is under 4 minutes now.
We have now enabled the rover pyro bus.
That's the pyrotechnic system that's
We're
going to
powering off the cruise stage devices.
And these are the things in the cruise stage that we no longer need. With the pyrotechnic system working, we can explode the devices.
The vehicle is preparing for the upcoming cruise stage separation in about 3 minutes 15 seconds by powering off all the devices on the cruise stage in order that they can be safe once the cruise stage is jettisoned.
Yeah, this cruise stage has been very reliable.
We are firing our first pyros to vent the HRS liquid and gas.
This has been the coolant that's kept their vehicle from getting too hot on the way to Mars. We have to vent it into space. And so this is one of the first major events that take place as part of entry, descent, landing.
The HRS vent anchor is complete.
Yes.
We will see the next anchor in approximately 3 minutes.
Okay.
We are currently 12.5 minutes from entry interface. We are coming upon cruise stage separation in 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
What's happening now, Rob?
Okay, well, we're just waiting. The rover is completely in charge. It's doing all the things we've taught it how to do. It's all built into the software. We've tested it over and over and over again. This team has spent 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, testing this thing for years. And so this is really the culmination of all that work. So this vehicle is getting ready to push that cruise stage away. Once it gets pushed away, the entry system with the rover inside, with the rover still in charge, is going to get ready to take the vehicle, turn it to the right orientation, and aim it to Mars, and prepare for entering the atmosphere. This won't be long. Be prepared for this event.
We're about 1.5 minutes from cruise stage separation, about 11 minutes, 20 seconds from entry interface.
Okay, so it's about 10 minutes from cruise stage separation till entering the top of the atmosphere. From then out, things happen fast.
We are switching to the MFSK tones. Entry will have stopped.
Telecom is confirming that the spacecraft has switched to broadcasting tones. These tones are received directly from Perseverance, but have very limited information content. We won't receive real-time information until about 9-10 minutes from now, once the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter starts relaying information from Perseverance. We are under 1 minute from cruise stage separation, about 10.5 minutes from entry interface.
It's getting exciting. I have to admit, I am quite anxious, but very hopeful that this machine is going to do what we asked it to do.
We are seeing the heartbeat tones.
Okay, that means that there's no more ones and zeros coming. It's just the vehicle telling us it's still alive.
We're continuing to receive tones from Perseverance, standing by for cruise stage separation. We have indication that cruise stage separation has been confirmed by the spacecraft.
We're off on a good start.
In about 1 minute, Perseverance's landing software will wake up and begin the final preparations for entry. The first action it will do is to fire warm-up pulses with its entry thrusters. These pulses ensure that the spacecraft gets the thrust that it wants during entry interface. We're about 9 minutes from entry interface.
Okay, so now the vehicle's on its own. It's turning itself into the direction of facing the heat shield toward Mars, and will eventually hitting the top of the atmosphere. We're not far away. This is going to go very quickly from here on out.
I have confirmation that we got shadowed by the cruise stage as it passed through our beam to the Earth.
Telecom indicated actually that we could see a signal that the cruise stage went between the Perseverance entry capsule and Earth. So we saw a little blip, the data stream indicating the cruise stage separation. We have confirmation that the vehicle has started warming up those entry thrusters. Warm-up pulses have begun. spin from the cruise 2 revolutions per minute down to 0, and then will turn to its desired orientation from entry. It will separate the 2 balance masses that has kept it balanced during all of cruise. This will allow the entry capsule to have lift when it enters the atmosphere. We have confirmation that the spacecraft has turned to the desired entry attitude. We are about 7.5 minutes from entry interface.
Okay, the vehicle is pointed in the right direction. The thrusters are warmed up and doing their job. And now we've spun down from the 2 revolutions per minute that the vehicle had the whole way to Mars as a spin-stabilized spacecraft. And then from here on out, it's going to just be a bullet, and it's going to control its orientation and attitude via rockets on the back of the back shell.
Points carrier lock. The DTE from Radio Science from Green Bank reports carrier lock. You see the carrier on the downlink.
Flight level 1.
We are continuing to wait for entry interface. We're about 6 minutes and 45 seconds from entry interface. We have confirmation from Greenback that they are receiving direct-to-Earth telemetry via that path. The spacecraft Perseverance is currently transmitting heartbeat tones. These tones indicate that Perseverance is operating normally and has nothing significant to report. This is as expected. We're currently just over 6 minutes from entry interface.
Okay, and now we wait. As soon as we get to the top of the atmosphere, it will be very quickly, which is the entry point. It won't be very long before the atmosphere will start getting thicker and thicker. It's going very quickly at a fairly steep angle of 15 degrees into the atmosphere. And as it starts to slow down.
We're just under, we're about 5.5 minutes from entry interface. We're still receiving heartbeat tones. We expect to continue receiving heartbeat tones until about 5 minutes after entry. At that time, Perseverance will be no longer in view of our antennas here on Earth. About 90 seconds prior to entry, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter should begin receiving telemetry from Perseverance and streaming it to Earth in near real time. There are a few expected short outages, such as when we have a plasma blackout or when we enter the peak heating phase. Aside from these outages caused by the plasma blackout, antenna switching, or high dynamic events, spacecraft events, we should have telemetry until about 90 seconds after landing. A plasma blackout is when the signal from Perseverance isn't strong enough to make it through the superheated, super fast air flowing around the spacecraft all the way down to Earth. Once the temperature drops below that peak heating, we do reacquire the signal from Perseverance. We are currently about 4.5 minutes from entry interface. Perseverance continues to report heartbeat tones, indicating everything is nominal.
Okay, what we're looking for now is Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter should be in view soon of our vehicle and be able to listen to ones and zeros coming from a separate radio that's really designed to talk between spacecraft.
MRO reports the electro radio is powered on, ready to receive signals from the lander.
Okay, MRO is ready and able and waiting for to hear from our rover.
Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter has reported that it's ready to receive the signals from Perseverance. It should be in a few minutes here. We're just
Flight Local 1
from entry interface.
We don't need these ones and zeros, as Swati said, but to land safely, but we really need it for our own health and well-being today to keep our nerves under control. But
around this time, a second spacecraft, MAVEN, should begin picking up telemetry from Perseverance and will continue to record that telemetry until several minutes post-landing. We won't get that data for several hours after landing as it's being recorded and then will be forwarded to Earth later. We are continuing to receive heartbeat tones, indicating that everything is nominal. We're currently at about 3 minutes until entry interface.
Okay. Very soon we'll be getting ones and zeros, I hope, from our radio on the rover. The entry interface is nothing more than just an arbitrary place in the sky that we've defined to be above the atmosphere. But from that point on, there's definitely atmosphere, and above it there isn't.
We are 2 minutes from entry interface. The data stream indicating the Crusade separation. Perseverance is to transmit heartbeat tones indicating everything is nominal.
So the tones can tell us whether something's bad or not is happening. So far the heartbeat is doing well. So the vehicle thinks it's in good shape to land, which is a great sign.
We're just under 2 minutes from entry interface. As it gets closer to Mars, Perseverance is actually being pulled in by gravity and accelerating. By the time Perseverance reaches entry interface point, she should be going just under 5.4 kilometers per second. We're at about 90 seconds from entry interface and standing by for Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter to pick up the telemetry. Kilometers per second and an altitude of about 150 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
Entry.
We have confirmation of entry interface. Perseverance is currently going 5.3 kilometers per second at an altitude of about 120 kilometers from the surface of Mars. The spacecraft is now waiting until it begins feeling the atmosphere of Mars slow it down. Once there is enough atmosphere, it will start controlling its path to the landing target. Navigation is also confirming that we can see a little bit of that slowdown of the atmosphere on the Perseverance entry capsule. Our current velocity is about 5.36 kilometers per second and an altitude of about 67 kilometers from the surface.
We are probably seeing MRO plasma blackout at this point.
The vehicle should be doing its turns right now.
MRO has lost lock.
Perseverance. We have indications that Perseverance is now performing bank reversals in the atmosphere. These are the steps in order to control its distance to the landing target. Perseverance has just passed through the point of maximum deceleration and has indicated that it felt approximately 10 Earth Gs of deceleration.
MRO has lock again.
Yes, 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 yes.
We saw a small outage of the UHF telemetry from Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter during that peak heating phase, likely caused by the plasma blackout. Perseverance is still continuing to perform bank reversals in the atmosphere to control its distance to the landing target. Perseverance is going about 1 kilometers per second at an altitude of about 16 kilometers from the surface of Mars. We have entered heading alignment, which means Perseverance is no longer trying to control the distance to Mars, to the target on Mars, but instead is flying straight to the target.
Parachute.
Our current velocity is about 550 meters per second at an altitude of about 15 kilometers from the surface.
MRO's reporting good telemetry log.
We are coming upon the straighten up. We are starting the straighten up and fly right maneuver, where the spacecraft will jettison the entry balance masses in preparation for parachute deploy and to roll over to give the radar a better look at the ground.
Yes, yes, yes.
The navigation has confirmed that the parachute has deployed, and we are seeing significant deceleration in the velocity. Our current velocity is 440 meters per second at an altitude of about 12 kilometers from the surface of Mars.
Yes.
Perseverance is now slowed to subsonic speeds, and the heat shield has been separated. This allows both the radar and the cameras to get their first look at the surface. Current velocity is 145 meters per second at an altitude of about 9.5 kilometers above the surface.
Yes, yes, yes.
Perseverance now has radar lock on the ground. Current velocity is about 100 meters per second, 6.6 kilometers above the surface of Mars. Perseverance is continuing to descend on the parachute. We are coming up on the initialization of terrain relative navigation and subsequently the priming of the landing engines. Our current velocity is about 90 meters per second at an altitude of 4.2 kilometers.
Almost there.
We have confirmation that the lander vision system has produced a valid solution and part of terrain relative navigation.
Yes.
We have priming of the landing engines. Current velocity is 83 meters per second at about 2.6 kilometers from the surface of Mars. We have confirmation that the back shell has separated. We are currently performing the divert maneuver. Current velocity is about 75 meters per second at an altitude of about a kilometer off the surface of Mars.
TRN Safety Bravo.
We have completed our terrain relative navigation. Current speed is about 30 meters per second, altitude of about 300 meters off the surface of Mars. We have started our constant velocity accordion, which means we are conducting the sky crane, about to conduct the sky crane maneuver.
We've lost direct-to-Earth tones.
As expected. As expected.
Sky crane maneuver has started. About 20 meters off the surface.
We're getting signals from MRO.
UHF is good.
Touchdown confirmed. Perseverance safely on the surface of Mars, ready to begin seeking the signs of past life. At this point, the descent stage has flown away to a safe distance. Perseverance is continuing to transmit direct through Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter to Earth.
Oh my God. Oh. Oh.
More reports, they're still getting telemetry from the lander.
All right, all stations.
We got it.
Touchdown confirmed. We're going to wait for the images.
Wow.
This is so exciting. The team is beside themselves.